Welcome to the Daily Boogie.
That was fun. It's time for
The Weekly Stelter.
Are you in talks right now with the White House
About a job?
about a job?
No. But Donald Trump is my friend as
Weekly
celebrity
Stelter,
Trump,
let's go.
as candidate Trump, and as President Trump. And I do have a lot of conversations with him, one-on-one sometimes Oval Office with other people. And it really has surrounded the opioid crisis recently. My wife and I lost our 19-year-old son. And, you know, the day after he passed, we were having a very hard time. And the phone rang, the cell phone rang, and it was President Trump who said, "I can't imagine what you're going through. Just understand I'm with you. I'm here to help." He also called on Thanksgiving Day. We were about to sit down to Thanksgiving dinner. Phone rings again. As we're sitting down, it was Donald Trump again. So we talked about the opioids, what took our son. It was an accidental overdose. And I realized at that moment he cared about this crisis. It was something that he could feel. He had empathy for, he had compassion for, and something you don't see him.
This is terrible for Brian Stelter. Here we have a man giving his heartfelt story about losing his child and explaining why the president was so empathetic, why the president treated him with such grace and such care. This is not something that we can have on Brian Stelter, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're going to have to whip this into shape very quick smart. If anyone can, Brian can.
Showing on TV quite a bit. So I said, would you mind if next time I'm in D.C., if I could sit down and we'd talk? And sure enough, I've had 3 or 4 one-on-one conversations with him, a couple of phone calls. And it's always been around the opioid crisis, some policy stuff too. I have some great ideas for infrastructure.
That's why I thought these were job interview conversations.
Well,
you tweeted the other day that you would work for $1.
Well, what happened with that tweet was I was so infuriated when I saw that big $1.3 trillion omnibus bill, this massive bill.
Here we go.
You know, Donald Trump has wanted funding for the wall. There was very little. There's a drop in the bucket funding for the wall. And he got pushed it. That was thrown on him. And I got really upset. I said, you know, they really need to do a couple of things. Number one, stop the leaks. These leaks are ridiculous. You can't have a conversation without 5 minutes later
General McMaster was recently let go from the White House inner circle, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We touched on it last week on the Periscope. Jake Tapper standing there saying, you know, yes, of course it's wrong to leak, but has anybody considered the feelings of the leaker? Maybe the leaker is really upset. And that explains the leaking. Brian looks like he's choking on his tongue, says Blonde Mama USA. So, you know, you've got to consider the feelings of the leaker in these leaking stories, because he might be really upset with Donald Trump. McMaster was let go, and Jake Tapper's like, I have no idea who the leaker is.
Getting his reaction to a conversation he had with a world leader, the press is already printing and talking about it. We're talking about it on TV. So I said, stop the leaks, plug the leaks, get rid of the people who are leaking in a very, very...
Exclusive bolling. I'd work for Trump for $1. The usual CNN banner writer must have been off sick that day. What they should have written is, Trump endorses slave labor. Trump oppresses victim of child suicide by offering work for $1. Donald Trump is a communist.
Very public way. Now, McMaster was I don't know, I guess he resigned. For me, it would be a little bit more tough. If he was, in fact, I'm not saying he was, but if he was a leaker, go public with him. Do a perp walk out of the White House. Have the cameras follow him out so that they don't end up going to another network or going somewhere else and say, yeah, I worked for the president for a year and a half, but I leaked, which is very damaging to his presidency and, in fact, the country, and then end up with a better gig later.
But, Eric, what if you have a boss who's erratic, who's behaving in ways that are dangerous? You don't think they should leak to warn the country?
I don't think a private company...
But, Eric, what if you have a boss that's erratic? What if you have a boss that's dark and dangerous and concerning and evil? Shouldn't you leak to warn the country? This is where the genius of Brian Stelter kicks into high gear, ladies and gentlemen. Everything is okay because it's Trump.
With a better gig later.
But Eric, what if you have a
But
boss
Eric-
who's erratic, who's
Erratic.
behaving in ways that are dangerous?
Dangerous.
You don't think they should leak to warn the country?
Warn the country. If your boss is erratic and dangerous, don't you think that you should leak to undermine him? Like, what's wrong with that? Ladies and gentlemen, we all work for somebody, or we have worked for somebody at one time or another, and you don't always get on with your boss. That's true. Sometimes you think your boss shouldn't be the boss. Sometimes you think you're more talented than the boss. How come that guy's got that job and I don't? That's not right. Sometimes they make decisions we don't like. That's the nature of working for somebody. They're the boss and you're the subordinate. It's good to know in Brian Stelter's world, well, you can leak and damage him. I mean, what if he's erratic? What if he makes dumb decisions? Don't you have a responsibility to undermine him? I'm looking forward to the next time the CNN board gets together and makes some decision that Brian Stelter doesn't like. I would assume that he's going to go straight on his TV show and tell the whole world about why his boss is wrong, why his boss is stupid. My bosses are erratic and dangerous. I have a responsibility to tell the American people. Look, here's their financial records. My boss is sleeping with a porn star. Don't you think I have a responsibility to do that? I think people should start tweeting Brian Stelter and asking for dirt on the boss. Brian, what do you know about the people who fund CNN? Do you think the big money people behind your company are dangerous and erratic? Do you think you'd do a better job? Don't you have a responsibility to muckrake? Brian?
I don't think a private conversation with a world leader, I don't think anything should be leaked out of the White House. I think that all should be plugged. You know, your
So it sounds like
father-in-law
communications
believes
director is the right job.
your
Communications director, you're
father-in-law
looking for?
believes that
communications
these are
director.
whistleblowers, not
Yes.
leakers. I would beg to differ. I mean, you can't run any organization if everything you say is going to be you know, on the front pages of the blog by the time you leave your office. I mean,
Ding, 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 ding. Uh-oh, we've got a logic alert. Pardon me, I've got a little frog in my throat. I'm going to name it Pepe. Yep, that's a logic alert on the Weekly Stelter. See, Eric Bolling is saying, you know, it's really hard to run a company if you've got people backstabbing and backbiting and leaking on each other all the time. Brian cuts him off. Whoa, 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 whoa. Didn't we already decide that Donald Trump is erratic and dangerous? Eric, you're not listening to me. It's Trump.
you say is going to be you know, on the front pages of the blog by the time you leave your office.
I
mean,
respect what you're saying.
Are
you trying to be White House communications director?
No, you asked me that. I would never lie to you. Okay. I have no conversations with the White House regarding jobs.
Why do you think the president's so inclined to hire TV personalities? You know, Larry Kudlow last week, John Bolton this week.
I think,
TV personalities.
It's because as a president, you want like-minded people around you. I think what Trump had going against him when he entered the White House
thanks
was,
for joining us.
You know,
Eddie's a gay
was
frog,
Democrat,
yes.
So, but a normal Republican going into
Yes,
a
apologies, I do have a gay frog in my throat.
White House has an infrastructure of Republican followers, a group.
Yes,
what Trump had
yes,
against him was
Lullabells names it. New headline, Eric Bolling confirms he's seeking director job on reliable sources.
he had half the Republican Party who didn't like him. It was, the Never Trumpers were as damaging as the
look at
liberal
all
left
these
was to
TV
President Trump. So
personalities. Look at them all. Heather Nauer, Omarosa Manigault, Mercedes Schlapp, Larry Kudlow, and now the mustache Bolton. I mean, it's like he's bringing the Celebrity Apprentice into the White House. Donald Trump isn't taking the job seriously, and these people are just TV personalities. Why do all the Clinton staff end up on MSNBC and CNN, Brian? Asked Blonde Mama. No. See, Kimmy says John Bolton is not a TV personality. He's a former ambassador to the UN. No. You can't mention former ambassador to the UN. You can't mention that. No. See, because he would do a 5-minute spot occasionally on Fox Business, and obviously he was asked on Fox Business for these occasional 5-minute spots because he has no experience in any kind of government role whatsoever. I mean, he's just a guy from the street with a sexy mustache. That's really all he offers. He's just a TV personality. I mean, this is like the red carpet White House. Is that what we're going to see next on the White House lawn? Like a big old red carpet and the paparazzi there? John, who are you wearing? He's making a mockery of the mockery Obama made, says General Eaton. Thanks for joining us, General. John Bolton has nothing to offer the White House whatsoever. He's just a celebrity. He's like Kim Kardashian. John Bolton is the mustached male Kim Kardashian of our generation. And that's all he'll ever be.
Enters, and clearly you have to put seat fillers. And that's, honestly, that's probably what he did. He put some people in probably who weren't on the pro-Trump agenda until he figured out who was and who wasn't.
Yes,
and
good point, Eddie Bags. 3 women and 2 men. Donald Trump obviously hates men. Donald Trump is a female supremacist. Donald Trump has a problem with women. That's why he surrounds himself with them constantly, at all times, even the porn stars.
You have to put seat fillers, and that's, honestly, that's probably what he did. He put some people in probably who weren't on the pro-Trump agenda until he figured out who was and who wasn't, and you move those people out.
Dux Regina says, I'm 85% certain we could trigger the left just with John Bolton's mustache. Yeah, get that on some memes. The Stash says no.
Who see it the way he sees it, sees the country the way he sees it.
Do you expect to see any other Fox Newsers joining the White House?
Newsers?
Pete Hegseth's been mentioned as a possibility.
I don't, and I don't know. I don't stay in contact with the Fox Newsers. But when I did sit down with the president, I had some great ideas on opioids. I had some ideas on infrastructure that I presented to him.
Eric, we don't want to hear about your ideas. We don't want to have a rational discussion here. What we want to do is say that Donald Trump is just filling the White House full of celebrities with no government experience whatsoever, TV personalities. People hired on the basis that they can grow a freakishly good mustache. And they're famous for it. Like Kim Kardashian is famous for being famous and having a big bum. John Bolton is famous for being famous and having a stash. That's the point of this interview, Eric. Don't forget that.
Doing it because I want to go there. I'm just doing it because I think the country could be better off with more pro-Trump ideological people surrounding him and advising him. Gary Cohn. I used to work on a board of directors of the New York Mercantile Exchange. I was with Gary Cohn. We saw completely different views of the world. Smart guy, but he was not the right guy to put in as a national economic advisor, senior level to President Trump. It just wasn't. He was a Goldman Sachs globalist.
Get back to the
President
celebrities.
Trump is America first, economic nationalist.
I mentioned Fox. Do you miss working at Fox?
I had a great.
Do you think there will be more Fox Newsers? Eric Bolling says, no, I don't think so. Then he goes into talking about, we need to do things with opioids. I've got lots of ideas for infrastructure. Donald Trump is an economic nationalist. He wants to put America first. Brian Steller's like, yep. So do you miss Fox News? Or It's like talking to a child. It's like if you sit the child down and the child just wants to talk about chocolate. It's like, Mum, can I have some chocolate, please? Okay, sweetie, well, we can't have chocolate right now because first we have to have some breakfast. It's very important for growing boys and girls to get a good breakfast with nutrition. Nutrition is important for your muscles, your brain development. You'll end up being stupid if you just have chocolate for breakfast every single day. Now, here's some bananas, here's some toast, here's some orange juice. This is all good for you. It's going to fuel you for the rest of the day. Yep. So, can I have some chocolate now? What do you think about the people at Fox News, Eric? well, I don't really know. I don't think he's going to hire people from Fox News. What about, you know, the opioid crisis and the infrastructure plans? Donald Trump is an economic nationalist. He's putting America first. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, do you want to go back to Fox News or?
10 years there. Fox and I separated about 8 months ago amicably. And look, I spent 10 years in you know, in that montage you put up at the beginning. As I interviewed John Bolton, I interviewed President Trump, presidential candidates. I have nothing bad to say about my 10 years at Fox.
What happened at the end? You were accused
just
of
wants
sending
gossip.
inappropriate messages to your colleagues. Were you scapegoated, or were the?
What happened at the end, Ned? Let's get the dirt on Fox News. He just wants the sex scandals. Brian Stelter, ladies and gentlemen. You deviant bastard.
Those stories true?
Well, here's the deal. And when I left Fox, we went through a long, extensive period. And what Fox and my lawyers decided to come up with in their comment, and Fox's statement was, we separated amicably. I agree with them completely.
But you can't tell me if you did it or not?
You can't tell me if you did it or not?
I'm not supposed to be talking about the lawsuits at all, because they're still pending. Things are still pending.
What about what one of your former colleagues, Colonel Ralph Peters, said?
My wife of 20 years and I are completely on board on the same page, and that
You're welcome, Melissa.
I've never done anything like that.
There was this story this week I had never seen before. This cable news contributor lighting a fire on the way out the door. You saw what Ralph Peters said about Fox. He called the network
Lighting
a
a fire.
propaganda machine. He worked there for years with you,
Ooh.
but he wrote this. He said, in my view, Fox has degenerated from providing a legitimate and much needed outlet for conservative voices to a mere propaganda machine for a destructive and ethically ruinous administration. When primetime hosts who have never served our country in any capacity dismiss facts and empirical reality to launch profoundly dishonest assaults on the FBI, the DOJ, the courts, the intel community, which I served, and not least a model public servant and genuine war hero such as Robert Mueller.
Genuine
all
war
while
hero.
Scaremongering with lurid warnings of deep state machinations.
Machinations,
I cannot be a
Brian.
part of the same organization.
I'm out of here.
I've never seen anybody on cable news do that on the way out the door.
Oh?
Did you agree that Fox
Nobody?
is now a propaganda machine?
Well, I haven't been at Fox for a very long time. Ralph Peters.
He's just explained that I don't have anything bad to say about Fox. I enjoyed my time there. I was there for 10 years. I like the people there. I don't have anything bad to say. Well, this guy has lots of bad things to say. Do you agree with him? Mm-hmm. I don't have anything bad to say about Fox at all. I was there 10 years. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, can I have some chocolate now?
I used to book Ralph Peters when I'd sit in for Hannity or Riley, and he would come on, and he was always a firebrand. He'd always have something extremely provocative to say. That's you know, Ralph Peters is entitled to his opinion. Again, 7 months ago, 8 months ago, when I left Fox, there weren't not a lot of pro-Trump people at Fox. There was only a handful of us.
Wait, not a lot of pro-Trump people at Fox.
Go look back 7 or 8 months ago, and you'll see there was Hannity, myself, maybe Jeanine Pirro, and beyond that, there was not a very you know. Look, here's the thing about any network. I'm sure it's certainly true for Fox, or my experience with Fox, and likely CNN. No one calls you and says you have to be on board with Trump or against Trump or pro-Obama or against Obama or have this political leaning or ideology. We are free to have our own opinions. I'm sure you are. I always was. I was never told which way to go with anything, and I never did. The beauty of capitalism in the marketplace, free speech, is that there is a Fox which leans one way. CNN may lean another way. Another group, MS, may lean yet another direction. You have choices, and that's the beauty of the American capitalist system.
But Peters is going further. He's saying Fox is assaulting our rule of law by trying to tear down Robert Mueller's probe. By trying.
See, what I like most about Brian Stelter is his listening skills. He's a great listener. That's evident in this clip. That's what we're going to call this week's edition of the Weekly Stelter. The Weekly Stelter, I'm listening. I'm listening. Yep. Do you agree with this guy who's left Fox News and set fire to the place as he left, that it's just a propaganda machine? Well, no, I booked him. You know, nobody calls you up and says that you have to have certain opinions, certain political leanings. You know that as well as I do. You work at CNN. Yep. But he called it a propaganda machine. I had great experience at Fox News. I was there 10 years. But this guy says it was terrible trash. Do you agree? Well, no, I don't really agree. Okay. But this guy says it was terrible trash. Are you sure you don't agree? Brian is a great listener. He would be a great therapist.
Trying to discredit Mueller's probe. He says he's embarrassed to work there. Were you ever embarrassed?
No, I was never embarrassed. And that's Ralph Peters has always made very provocative statements. He would come on, and for the record, Ralph Peters.
Philly says, hey, the man's busy trying to play golf and set up a dictatorship. Yes, that's what all good dictators do, Philly. Every good dictatorship is built on the golf course, as you know. That makes total sense.
Never liked Trump from the very beginning. He never thought Trump would win the presidency, and he certainly wasn't a pro-Trump advocate afterwards. He's entitled to his opinion, but I honestly, as I'm sure everyone here, Don and Anderson and Wolf,
the difference is your name
tells them what.
Thanks for joining us, Ramon. Ramon says, leaves one propaganda machine and goes to another propaganda machine. Yeah, straight out of one into the other. It's a revolving door. All of these propaganda machines around the place. Eric can't get away from them.
Correct, but you're naming journalists.
Ideological.
Hannity.
Real Don Craig says, I thought he was more focused on harassing women. Yeah, it's a difficult one to figure out, Real Don Craig. Thanks for joining us. We believe that Donald Trump harbors feelings of an evil dictatorship. He's going to legalize pussy grabbing because he hates women. He surrounds himself with women because he hates them. I know people that hold deep prejudices against other groups, whether it be ethnic or gender. What you want to do when you're one of these people who just hates, and, you know, like dripping, visceral, distilled, pure hate. When you hate a certain group of people, what you want to do is surround yourself completely with that group. Because you're throwing off. You're throwing off the people who say, you know, he hates all of those people. Because that's how clever he is, right? So Donald Trump is trying to create a patriarchal dictatorship that oppresses women. He surrounds himself with women. He does this by playing a lot of golf, apparently, and tweeting. The tweeting golf dictatorship of Donald Trump. Time to put a lock on your privates, ladies, because the small hand of the orange monster is on its way.
Some of these guys are entertainers, not journalists. I wondered if you agreed with Shep that some of the primetime hosts are entertainers at this point.
No, I think Shep has his role. He gets it. By the way, Shep has a lot of opinion in his quote-unquote journalism show, but
Tweetator.
He has his role, and the opinion.
Standing up for the facts,
people
though,
have their role as well.
Isn't that what you're seeing on cable news these days? People are trying to stand up for facts and decency.
Ah. Yeah. Brian Stelter, the moral guardian of our time. Don't you see that on cable news? I mean, you're here on reliable sources. Look, we've got reliable sources on the TV behind us. We call our show Reliable Sources because we stand up for facts and decency. This guy said it's a propaganda machine. You don't agree. What's wrong with you? Here at CNN, we stand up for the truth. And nothing but the truth.
What's the point? I mean, you can still have a strong opinion and stay within the
awful
boundaries
interview.
of fact. and I think that's generally
Fritza,
what happens.
thanks for joining us.
Sean Hannity is a very good friend of mine. Laura Ingraham, a very good friend of mine. They're very opinionated, but they're always within the boundaries of fact. I mean,
Jennifer says, how does this relate to opioid deaths again? Well, I'm not sure. We'll have to ask Philly to connect those two dots for us. I'm sure the opioid deaths is in some way linked to the Trump dictatorship being modelled on the golf course with the porn stars. Somehow. I'm not sure how, but somehow. You know, it's best not to think about it, just accept it as truth, and we'll move on, because, I mean, we're on reliable sources, so it can't be wrong.
As opposed to a different type of news show, a straight news, a 6 o'clock
Straight news
show here.
Headline, Eric Bolling hates gay people.
At Fox or anywhere,
Straight
you're going to
news.
get straight news. This is what happened today. When you go into the prime time, every network is...
Brian Stelter's a little uncomfortable there with the suggestion of straight news. That has no place. That kind of homophobic, bigoted view has no place here on Reliable Sources, Eric.
as well. When you get into primetime, the primetime hosts on cable are delving further and further into opinion, but staying within the realms of fact.
A year from now, you think you'll be in the government or you'll be on television?
All I know is, at this moment, my goal in life is to save families from the opioid scourge that we've been honestly horrendously dealing with for the past 7 months.
Yes.
Losing a child is nowhere anyone should be, and hopefully what I'm doing with the opioid push with the White House, with the help of the White House, will save some lives. And that's really I'll let God light the next path for me right now. That's my only path.
I've learned from the way you've shared your pain in the past 7-8 months.
And so many people have,
what
Brian.
that's
I mean,
like.
it's like opioids is touching more and more people, and young people. Younger and younger people are being affected by it. If you're under 30, you're most likely to die by accident from an overdose, and likely an opioid overdose, more so than guns or cars.
Eric, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian, for dedicating the last 30 seconds of a 10-minute interview to the actual topic at hand, that being the opioid crisis and Eric Bolling's work with the White House to try and get some kind of handle on this scourge that's plaguing American society. The main thing is, we dedicated 9.5 of that 10-minute interview, 9.5 minutes, to Fox News gossip. Trump is erratic and dangerous. Do you think that more Fox News people will be working for the White House? The celebrity cavalcade, the red carpet going right up the White House lawn, with just all these TV personalities getting jobs, like John Bolton, for example. Someone stupidly mentioned that John Bolton was a former ambassador to the UN, but that's wrong to bring that up. Remember, he's just a TV personality with a porn star mustache. And former Fox News employees say that Fox is a propaganda machine. Those are the big pressing issues on Brian Stelter. Oh, by the way, yeah, opioid crisis. Yep. But what about Fox News? Ladies and gentlemen, that was
The Weekly Stelter.
just gets better and better every week, doesn't it?